Right, and coming to this revision, that is audit of PSU, very quick revision of audit of PSU. Right, we'll categorize this into 4 categories like introduction, framework of government audit, and what are the committees in this PSU audit of PSU chapter. What introduction, framework of government audit, and committees. That is one category. And come to the second category, that is objective and scope of PSU audit, and what are the elements of PSU audit, and what are the principles of PSU auditing. There are some general principles and principles relating to auditing also there. Right, this is second category. And coming to the third category, that is our audit of government company. This can be already discussed in our company audit 143 section. Right, and coming to the types, next fourth category, that is our types of audits conducted by CAG, that is Controller and Auditor General of India. CAG, what are the types of audit? There are 5 types of audit: financial audit, compliance audit, comprehensive audit, proprietary audit, performance audit. These are the 4 categories we leave in this particular chapter. That is introduction and framework of government audit, and committees of this under this PSU audit, and objective and scope of PSU audit, elements of audit, principles of PSU auditing. Right? 2 categories. And coming to the third category, audit of government company. The fourth category is types of audit conducted with the C&AG, that is financial, compliance, comprehensive, proprietary, performance. Right? And coming to the first category, that is introduction and framework of government audit and committees. Right? And coming to this first one, that is organization of PSU, means which organizations will be said to be public sector undertakings. Right? There are 3 categories. The public sector enterprises are organized through any of the following mode. They can be any of the following mode. For example, the department generally managed undertaking, the departmentally managed undertakings which are form part of the government, like our Indian Railways and Post Office, there are PSUs. And our second category is government companies set up by the Companies Act 2013 or Edswell Companies Act 1956. Those are the PSU we can set. In second category, that is third category, is corporation set up under a specific act of legislature, that is or LIC, Unit Trust of India, like that. What are the 3 departmentally managed undertakings which form part and parcel of the government, that is our Indian Railways and Postal Services, best example, and government companies which are formed under section that right, Government Companies Act 2013. Right, and coming to the corporation setup and what corporation setup and the specific act of legislature, that is our LIC audit and the Unit Trust of India. Right, and coming to the next, framework of government audit. Right, and coming to the next one, is framework of government audit. In government in India, that generally basically the government audit will be done by the Controller and Auditor General of India, that is our CAG, Controller and Audit General of India. Right, at present the CAG is our Girish Chandra Murmu. Right, previously it was Rajiv Maharishi, just because in August 2020 Rajiv Maharishi has vacated because he has completed 65 years of age. Right, and coming to the appointment, the CAG will be appointed by whom? CAG will be appointed by the Indian President of India, that is Ramnath Kovind shall appoint the CAG. And term earlier, right? The term of the CAG is right 6 years or 65 years, whichever is earlier. Just because the 65 years has achieved by the Rajiv Maharishi, he has to vacate, and now the present CAG is our Girish Chandra Murmu. He is 60 years of age, and after 5 years he has to vacate his office because it is 6 years or 5 years, whichever is earlier, right? And remuneration is CAG should be paid remuneration equivalent to that of a Supreme Court judge. Our Supreme Court judge, now the Chief Justice of India is our Sharad Arvind Bobde. Whatever the remuneration is by that person, basically there are 34 judges of Supreme Court. What are the remuneration is by those judges? The same remuneration will be paid to that CAG, that is Controller and Auditor General of India, that is our Girish Chandra Murmu. Right? And coming to the removal, when the CAG can be removed, the CAG can be removed only when each house of the parliament decides to do so by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the votes members present at meeting. Right? 2 houses of parliament means our Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. If in both the houses are 2/3 of the majority, that means for the members present and also voting, that is 2/3 majority shall be there. Then in both houses of parliament, Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, that removal can be, that majority is obtained, then CAG can be removed. And also one more important thing is CAG cannot be removed except on the ground of proven misbehavior or incapacity. That guilty shall be proved, but he is proven misbehavior or incapacity. Right. And coming to the next one is organization of subject to the CAG. What are the organizations that subject to CAG? The organizations that subject to what? Subject to CAG audit. There are the 4 points are there. All the union and state government departments, for the departments of union and state government offices, including our Indian Railways, Post Offices and Telecommunications, that is our BSNL. All union and state government departments and public commercial enterprises controlled by the union and state government, that is our government companies as per Companies Act 2013, and non-commercial autonomous body and authorities owned or controlled by the union and states, and authorities and bodies substantially financed from union or state government. First is all the union and state government department, that is Indian Railways, Post Offices, Telecommunications. And next one is the public commercial operations, public commercial enterprises controlled by whom? Controlled by either a union that is central or state government, that is a government company as per Companies Act, and next one is non-commercial autonomous bodies and authorities control the Union States, and authorities and bodies substantially financed from the union or state government. What are the authorities that are substantially financed from the central government, state government? Those kind of comes and purview of the PSU, and those shall be audited by the COG. Right? These are the organizations subject to COG audit, that is Controller and Audit General Audit. That present is our Girish Chandra Murmu, right? And coming to the scrutiny of audit report, the audit reports and annual accounts will be referred to the specialized committees constituted by the Parliament and State of Legislature, that is Public Accounts Committee and Committee of Public Undertakings. Means whatever the audit reports, right? Whatever the audit report given by CAG, that is Controller and Auditor General of India, will be scrutinized by some committee, that is the Public Account Committees and Committee on Public Undertakings, right? They will scrutinize and they will give the decision, right? What are that? Three committees are there, that is Public Account Committee and Committee of Public Undertakings and Estimate Committee. What? Public Account Committee, Committee of Public Undertakings and Estimate Committee, right? Coming to the committees, right? What are the committees? We have Public Accounts Committee and the Committees on Public Undertakings and Estimates Committees. There are the simple roles function of these committees. We'll discuss the Public Accounts Committee, right? What is the role of Public Accounts Committee? The Public Accounts Committee first deals with the accounts. What is accounts? Whether the expenditure has been legally disbursed or not, right? What is examine that the money is shown in the accounts were disbursed for the purpose which they are applied. Means what is the money they have disbursed with for this particular purpose they are applied, and they will see. And next one they will see for the authorization of expenses, right? Examine the expenditure are authorized or not, and they will for reappropriation of funds. Examine the reappropriation has been made in accordance with the provisions made, that is distribution of funds correctly made or not. Then they will check the examine of SOA, that is statement of accounts of what, as an autonomous body as well as semi-autonomous body on which our CAG, that is Controller and Auditor General of India, has audited those autonomous body statement of accounts. They will examine. What are the examines by the Public Accounts Committee? Public Accounts Committee first they will examine the monies shown in the accounts were disbursed from the purpose to which they are applied. Means the money is legally disbursed or not. The first they will see, and next they will see authorization of expenses, and next they will examine the reappropriation of funds, that is distribution of funds, and next they will examine the statement of accounts of what, autonomous body as well as semi-autonomous body, which are audited by our COG, that is Controller General of India, right? Public account, once again, what the Public Accounts Committee will do? First, they will examine the money shown in the accounts. What are the accounts shown in the accounts? They will disburse for the purpose which they are applied, and examine the expenditure authorized or not. Next, they will examine the reappropriation of funds and with the proper provisions made, and they will examine the statement of accounts of what, autonomous body as well as semi-autonomous body, on which audit is conducted by CAG. And coming to the next committee, that is our Committees of Public Undertaking. In the name itself is there, Public Undertaking, Committees of Public Undertakings. What are the functions of these committees? The functions are very simple ones. To examine the reports and accounts of the public undertakings, means they will check that they will take the reports and accounts of the public undertakings, and they will examine the reports of COG on public undertakings. Means what are the COG will give reports on public undertakings, right? They will check these reports also. First they will check the reports and accounts of public undertakings, then they will check report of COG on public undertakings. Then they will examine the sound business, they will check the sound business practices and prudent commercial practices. Sound business practices and prudent commercial principles are following by the company, by the entity or not. That is, examine the statement, examine efficiency of the public undertakings, and to see whether they are being managed in accordance with sound business principles and prudent commercial practices. Whether they have been managed under sound business principles or prudent commercial practices, or they are not, they will check. And another function is that residuary function, that is to exercise such other functions as may be allotted with a speaker from time to time. Our speaker is Om Birla, right? That speaker will give some powers to that Committee on Public Undertakings, and they will perform as and when necessary. Right? What are the functions of these committees on public undertaking? They will examine the report and accounts of public undertakings, and they will examine the report of COG on public undertakings, and they will see whether these public undertakings are being properly managed according to the sound business principles and prudent commercial practices or not. And they will see what are the powers, what are the functions imposed by the speaker on him. They will follow, right? To exercise such other functions as may be adopted by the speaker from time to time, right? See, and coming to this estimate committee, what is the functions of this estimate committee? The main, in the name itself, is the estimate. The main function of the estimate committee, first thing we will see the policy, and we suggest some alternate policies, and next one is these within the limits are there or not, and next one is the bodies of form presented in the House of Parliament. What policy, suggest alternate policy, within the policy, form in which that particular to be presented in the House of Parliament, right? Coming to that is first one, policy to report what economies. Economies means benefits. Economies improvements in organization, efficiency or administration reforms consistent with the policy underlying the estimates may be affected. It has to report the economies that which is consistent with the policy and underlying estimates may be affected, means that those economies that particular estimates committee has to report. And next one is it suggests alternative policies in order to bring about the efficiency and economy in administration. It can suggest some other alternate policies for bringing economies, that is benefits and economy benefits, and efficiency means efficiency in administration, right? And also next one is our within the limits, right? To examine that the money is well laid within the limits of the policy implied in the estimations, right? To examine that the money is well laid out within the limits of the policy implied in the estimates, and to suggest a form in which the estimates shall be presented to the Parliament. Okay, what are the things? Policy. First one is policy, suggest alternate policies within the limit, and next one is form presented in the House of Parliament to report what economic improvements, administration reforms consistent with the policy underlying the estimates may be affected, to suggest alternative policies in order to bring about the efficiency and what efficient economy in administration, and to examine whether the money is well laid out within the limits of the policy, means that money shall be laid within the limits of the policy, means what some estimation whether the money used or within the policy estimations or not, we have to examine. And to suggest the forms, what are the forms we have to suggest for estimations in the House of Parliament, we have to see. Right, these are the 4 functions of estimates committee. So we have completed our first segment, that is first category. And coming to the next one, one more topic is pending in here, that is C&AG, role in functioning financial committees, Parliament and state legislature. What is the role? The role is very simple. See, what are the report of C&AG will form the basis of work, right? Because the C&AG audit report committees will take and they will examine and they will scrutinize. Right? The first thing is C&AG. Reports of C&AG form based of work committees working, that is the committees examine the issues raised with the C&AG. What are the issues raised with C&AG? The committees will examine. And next one is committees require the assistance of C&AG for scrutinizing the notes which the minister submit to the committees. See, C&AG has to give assistance to the committees of both 3 committees for scrutinizing the notes received from different ministries to the committees to examine. C&AG will assist in that particular thing, as well as the reports of financial committees are submitted to the Parliament or state legislature with their observations and recommendations. Right? These 3 committees we have discussed, right? They will form the report and they will make the observations and recommendations. They will submit to the Parliament, that is whether it is Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha or state legislature with respect to state assembly. They will submit. In that also our C&AG will help these particular committees, right? The C&AG assists various committees in suggesting the recommendations, right? What are the role of C&AG in financial committees? What are the reports of C&AG will form base for work of whatever the report made by the C&AG will form basis of working of committees. That means the issues raised by the C&AG will be taken out by examined by the committees. And next thing is the committees require the assistance of C&AG for scrutiny the notes received from the ministries. Right, and next one is the reports of this financial committees will submitted to the Parliament or state legislature with the observations or recommendations. In this getting these recommendations, the C&AG will assist these particular committees. Right, this is the role of C&AG in this functioning of financial committees and Parliament and state legislature. Right, and coming to our second category, that is in second category we have objectives and scope of audit of PSU and elements of audit. Elements of audit is very simple one. Parties involved, subject matter criteria and subject matter information, types of engagement. And next we have principles of PSU auditing. Principles of PSU auditing, we have 2 things, that is general principles and principles relating to the auditing process. And coming to the first one is objective and scope. First we'll see the objective. There are 2 objectives of PSU audit, that is fiscal accounting and managerial accounting. Fiscal accounting deals with the funds, sanctions, compliance, propriety. That is managerial accounting deals with the triple E's. Triple E's means economy, efficiency, right, effectiveness. See, the objectives of audit of PSU in broader context occurs 2 main elements, that is fiscal accountability, managerial accountability. Fiscal accountability, it includes audit of provision of funds, sanctions, compliances and propriety, means whether the provision of funds has been properly given, whether the sanctions, whether the fund sanction has been properly there, their compliances and their propriety. Fiscal element means the main money involved, right? That is here fiscal accountability. The funds, provision of funds, sanctions, compliance of these rules, and propriety we all know. And coming to the managerial accountability, it includes the audit of 3 E's, that is efficiency, economy, effectiveness, right? And also another equally important objective of PSU is to help the government and enterprise management to improve the efficiency and effectiveness. One more objective is like it wants to help the management and government for running efficiently and effectively by giving some recommendations to that particular PSU, right? And come to the scope generally. The COG rules at the COG Act 1971 specify the entities that come under the audit purview. What are the COG Act will do? This Control and Auditor General Act will do is, right, the COG will generally specify what are the companies will form under this COG audit purview. We have already seen, right, the four things: the union, state, government departments, public commercial operations, non-public commercial operations, and authorities and body corp substantially finance. Those four companies comes under the COG purview, but it does not say what is its scope. The scope will be determined by the COG itself. That is our in this case that is our COG Girish Chandra Murmu, right? That is determined by the COG itself. There are the scope of extent of audit of PSU extends to financial audit, compliance audit, comprehensive audit, proprietary audit, and performance audit. What are the 5 types of scope of extent of PSU? Financial audit, compliance audit, comprehensive audit, proprietary audit, and performance audit, right? We discuss one by one. Clearly, financial audit, compliance audit, comprehensive audit, proprietary audit, performance audit, right? And coming to the elements of audit, what are the elements of audit? Elements of audit is there are three things involved. That is parties involved, subject matter criteria, subject matter information, types of engagement. Right? Coming to the parties involved, there are 3 things. That is auditor, the responsible party, the intended users. The auditor here is our supreme audit institution. They have used supreme audit institution, that is another than our COG, that is Control Auditor General of India. And responsible party, they have used the management and those charged with governance. Here they have used, that is the responsible party. And the intended users, to whom the audit report will publish, that is those charged with governance or oversight bodies, legislatures, as well as general public, that is the intended users, right? And coming to this first one, that is our user, that is auditor. Intended parties involved: auditor, responsible party, intended users, right? Auditor. In public sector auditing, the role of auditor is fulfilled by the Supreme Auditor Institution, India, and by its personnel delegated with the task of conducting audit. That is a Controller, Auditor General of India. We have that is an institution that right, in that person will be there. They will carry out these activities of auditing. That is the auditor. And next party is the parties involved. That is the responsible party. In public sector auditing, the relevant responsibilities are determined by the constitution or legislative arrangement. The responsible parties may be responsible for subject matter information. Subject matter information we'll see later, that definition. And for managing the subject matter also we'll see, or for addressing the recommendations are made by the individuals or organization. Generally, auditable entities, those charged with governance of auditable entities would be the responsible parties. Means what are the entity, means what are the management, and what are those charged to CWG. There are the responsible parties, right? Generally, and intended users. The intended users are the individuals, organizations, classes thereof for whom the auditor prepares the audit report. Intended users means the what purpose the audit report is prepared for, to whom the audit report is prepared. What are the right? The thing that the intended users may be legislative, oversight bodies. Legislative means here the users, that is our TCWG, general public, legislative oversight bodies, right? The intended use is primarily the parliament or the legislature. Parliament here is our Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha, or the legislature which represents the citizens by determining the priorities of public finance purpose. Legislature means our assembly, like that. See, these are the intended use. So the parties involved here is our the auditor, the responsible party, the intended use. And now next one is subject matter and the criteria and subject matter information. And coming to subject matter, what is subject matter? What is it differs? Subject matter refers to the information, condition, activity that measured or evaluated against the certain criteria. It means subject matter here is the information, it is the condition, it is the activity which is evaluated or which is measured against what? Against certain criteria. Right? Once again, what is subject matter? Subject matter is the information, condition, activity which is evaluated, which is measured against certain criteria. We'll see what is criteria, right? And coming to the criteria, the benchmark used to evaluate the subject matter. Each audit shall have a criteria suitable to the circumstances of the audit. In determining the suitability of the criteria, the auditors consider the relevance and understandability of the intended users, as well as the reliability, objectivity, right? Criteria means it's a benchmark. Right? Benchmark used for what? Evaluation of the subject matter, and it will be decided according to the entity from entity to entity. It will differ. It is a benchmark on which basis the subject matter will be evaluated against it. And what is subject matter information? Subject matter information is nothing but the outcome of evaluating and measuring the subject matter against the criteria. Subject matter is the information, activity, or condition which is measured, evaluated against the criteria, and criteria is the benchmark. And subject matter information is the outcome of the measuring or evaluating the subject matter against the criteria, right? Next, we'll come to the types of engagement. What are the types of engagement? There are two types of engagement, that is attestation engagement as well as direct reporting engagements. Right? In these definitions, we'll use those words which we have used previously: subject matter information, and criteria. Right? What is the attestation engagement? Attestation engagement is the responsible party, that is of management or those with governance, measures the subject matter against the criteria and presents the subject matter information on which the auditor then gathers sufficient audit evidence to provide the reasonable basis for expressing in conclusion. Right? If you see these words, they have jumbled, like subject matter information is there, subject matter is there, and criteria is there, sufficient audit evidence is there. If you clearly understand this is generally like our statutory audit, right? What they have again? Attestation engagement. That is attestation engagement. The responsible party, the management, measures what subject matter against the criteria, and presents the subject information, that is outcome of this measuring, on which the auditor then what is here, like take an example of financial audit. The financial audit, in which who's responsible to the preparation of financial statements, management. Who's responsible to the preparation of compliance as per the applicable financial reporting framework, that is AFRF, management. Right? Whose responsibility is the preparation of financial statements, management. Whose responsibility is complying with the applicable accounting framework, management, that is applicable financial reporting framework, management. Right? Here the management, that is subject matter is the financial statements, and criteria is the applicable financial reporting framework. The management measures the subject matter with the criteria, right? And also that financial statement preparation will be there, that will be given to the auditor. The auditor will get sufficient appropriate audit evidence, and he will express opinion. Right? This is attestation engagement. What the main example of attestation engagement is financial audit. And coming to the direct attestation engagement, direct reporting engagement, right? Direct reporting engagement, sorry, not attestation, that is direct reporting engagement. Direct reporting engagement is the auditor who measures or evaluates the subject matter against the criteria. Means in attestation engagement, it is the responsible party measuring the subject matter against criteria. In direct reporting engagement, it is the auditor who measures the subject matter against the criteria, that is benchmark. Right? These are the types of engagement. MCQ can be expected. Right? Financial audit are always attestation engagement, as they are based on the financial information presented by the responsible party. Performance audit and compliance audit are generally the direct reporting engagements. Right? And coming to the principles of PSU auditing, there are two principles: general principles and principles relating to the auditing process. Right? What are the principles of PSU auditing? That is general principles, and the principles related to the auditing process. Right? Coming to the general principles, if you want to remember the general principles, we can just remember the standards. Right? What is the first one? SA 200. SA 200, the main thing is ethics and independence, and next one is professional judgment, due care, and skepticism. And next our standard is SA 220, that is our quality control and audit team management and skill. And we can say our 315 or 200 or materiality, right? Audit risk, materiality, documentation, communication. These are very simple ones. General principles. The general principles are as follows: the ethics and independence, that is professional judgment and due care and skepticism. Quality control, XQC1 and SA 220. Audit team management, that is SA 220. And audit risk 315, materiality 320, documentation 230, and communication, those are the communication, that is 260 or 265. Right? These are general principles. The general principles, once again, the general principles are ethics and independence, professional judgment, due care and skepticism, quality control, audit team management and skill, audit risk, materiality, documentation, communication. Right? And come to the next one, that is principles relating to the auditing process. What are the main principles in the auditing process of PSU? There are three things involved. There is planning an audit, and conducting an audit, and reporting and following up audit. Planning audit, conducting audit, reporting, and following up audit. Very simple one. And planning is very, very easy. Also, the planning is the basic thing what you have to do, or the auditor has to do, is that he has to understand. The auditor should understand the entity's nature of entity and program to be audited. Right? And also the auditor should conduct a risk assessment. See, first he has to understand, then he has to do risk assessment. Right? And next one, he has to identify and assess the risk of frauds related to the entity audit objectives. And next, auditors shall plan their work to ensure that the audit is conducted in effective and efficient manner. What the first thing he has to do, he has to understand, and then he has to do risk assessment. Then he has to identify and assess the risk of fraud, and then he has to plan their work. And next, conducting audit, he has to perform audit procedures that provide sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to support the audit report. And auditors shall evaluate the audit evidence, draw and conclusions, right? He has to do perform procedures and obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Then he has to evaluate the audit evidence and draw conclusions. And in reporting and follow-up, he has to, the auditor shall prepare a report based on the conclusions reached. The follow-up on audit reported matter as relevant. This is the principle, right? Understand, first one is planning audit, conducting audit, and reporting and following up. Understand risk assessment, identify the risk, plan their work, perform audit procedures, obtain sufficient appropriate evidence, evaluate the evidence, draw the conclusions, report based on the conclusions reached, and follow up on the basis of relevant matters reported, right? This is all about the second category. And coming to the third category, that is audit of government companies, right? This thing we have already discussed in our company, right? But once again we'll discuss, that is our the meaning of government company. The government company has been defined as section 245 of the Companies Act 2013. That is any companies in which not less than 51% of the paid-up share capital is held by the CG or SG, or partly by CG and partly by SG, or both, and includes a company which is a subsidiary company of such government company, right? Not less than 51%, not less than 51%. It should be 51% or more. If it is 50.5% also, it is not a government company. It has to be 51% or more, right? 51% or more, then it is a government company. And also the subsidiary of government company is also a government company as per section 245. And coming to the next one, that is our first auditors. First auditors of the government company, who will appoint the first auditors of government company, right? And subsequent auditors and cash flow vacancy, right? In this case, we will see the subsequent auditor. The subsequent auditor will be appointed the Controller Auditor General of India within 180 days from the date of commencement of the financial year, and the auditor appointed shall hold the office at the conclusion of the AGM, right? And the first auditor will be appointed by the Controller Auditor General of India within within 60 days from the registration of the company. And if the C&AG fails to do so, then within next 30 days the board has to appoint. Even though the board fails to do so within next 30 days, then within next 60 days members can do, right? What is the criteria? 636 we can remember. We can remember 636, that is 60 days by the C&AG, not done. Next 30 days by the board, not done. Next 60 days by the members, right? This is the appointment of first auditor. Casual vacancy. The casual vacancy shall be filled by whom? The C&AG within 30 days. If not done by the C&AG within next 30 days by the board, right? This is all about the first auditor, subsequent auditor, casual vacancy. And coming to the duties of auditors with the government company, 147.5. See, what are the duties of auditor? The auditor will be who appointed the auditor? C&AG appointed auditor. So the responsibility of auditor is to report to the C&AG also. What the auditor will report? The auditor will forward a copy of audit report to the C&AG also. And in that audit report, he has to mention the directions given by the C&AG, how the directions, if any, issued with the C&AG, how they are followed, and what are the action taken thereupon the direction issued, and what are the impact of those directions on the financial statements. That thing needs to be reported. The directions, if any, issued with the C&AG, the action taken thereon, and the impact of the account financial statements of the C&AG of the company, right? And on the right of C&AG to conduct supplementary audit, right? Within 30 days from the receipt of this audit report from the auditor, the C&AG has right to conduct a supplementary audit of financial statements of the company. Means within 60 days, the C&AG has the power to order for supplementary audit as per section 143 section 6. And for the purpose of audit, such audit requires information and additional information on to any person, so authorized with the, right? Then he will appoint one person. One person means any other person the C&AG will appoint to do supplementary audit with particular information to obtain. Then the particular person will perform those activities according to the supplementary audit will be done. And also he can comment upon the findings of the auditor. Any comments or observations given by the CAG, that is C&AG, supplement to the audit report, shall be filed to the members, that is under section 136. And come to the next test audit as per 143 section 7. The C&AG may issue government company and government company owned company if he considers necessary by an order cost test audit to be conducted for the accounts of the such company. Right? Test audit can be conducted. Effort on supplementary audit, test audit can also be conducted by the C&AG. Right? This is all about the third category, that is our audit of government companies. And coming to our fourth category, that is audit conducted by the CAG. What are the types of audit? Financial audit, compliance audit, comprehensive audit, proprietary audit, performance audit. This is the main crux of this chapter: financial audit, compliance audit, comprehensive. Then coming to this first one, that is financial audit. What is financial audit? Financial audit is conducted to express audit opinion and set of financial statements. Financial audit is conducted to express an opinion on financial statements and compliance audit. What is compliance audit? See, these are one-liner answers. For example, if the question is asked for the 4 marks or 6 marks for the types connected with the COG, we can write one-liner answers. Compliance audit. Compliance audit is carried out to determine what? To determine whether the specified compliance requirements are met or not. Financial statements is to conduct an audit for expressing opinion on financial statements, whereas compliance audit is for determination of compliance requirements, whether they have been compiled, whether they have met or not. And coming to comprehensive audit is like involves assessing of overall efficiency and effectiveness. Overall efficiency and effectiveness of public and enterprises. This is done by preference to predetermined standards, objectives, and criteria. Right? They will have this comprehensive audit. The name itself says overall efficiency and effectiveness of public enterprises. This is done on the test basis. This will done with reference to what? With reference to predetermined. They have already determined some objectives. They have already determined some standards. They have already determined some criteria. Based on that criteria, they will do comprehensive efficiency and effectiveness audit. That is comprehensive audit. And propriety audit stands for the verification of transactions on the test of public interest, commonly accepted customs and standards of conduct. Right? It is a propriety audit. Propriety audit means audit first stands for verification of transactions. For example, that particular transaction can be verified for what? For reference to what? Public interest, whether that transaction has been done in accordance to public interest or not, or commonly accepted customs, whether that particular transaction is as per the commonly accepted customs or not, or standard set of conduct, whether that particular transaction is as per the standard set of conduct or not. Right? What is the propriety audit? Propriety audit stands for a verification of transaction of the test of public interest, commonly accepted customs, and standards of conduct. And coming to performance, that is last type of audit. Performance audit is objective. Performance audit is an objective and systematic examination of evidence for the purpose of providing an independent assessment of the performance. Right? It is an objective and systematic examination of what? A systematic examination of evidence for the purpose of providing independent assessment of performance of what? Performance over what? Of a government organization, either a performance of a program, either an activity or a function, in order to provide information to public accountability and facilitate the decision making by parties with responsibility to oversee or initiate corrective action. Right? This is a definition. We'll examine the definition. That is, performance audit is an objective and systematic examination of what? Of evidence for the purpose of what? For the purpose of providing independent assessment of the performance of what? Organization, structure, program, activity, function, in order to provide information to whom? To the person, for the public information, public accountability, and facilitate the persons who are responsible for this to oversee and take decisions. Right? These are like, for example, some certain program that the performance is good or not. The auditor is appointed, and the auditor will do that independent examination, and he will come to a conclusion that performance is good or bad or worst. Then he will give that to the person who is responsible for that performance, and they can make corrective actions. Right? This is performance audit. Performance audit is an objective and systematic examination of evidence for the purpose of what? For the purpose of what? The independent assessment of performance of whom? The government, company, program, function, and to provide information to whom? To the public accountability, and to the information to whom? The persons who are responsible for that performance, and to oversee, they can take corrective action. Right? This is about a one-liner answers for financial audit, compliance audit, comprehensive audit, propriety audit, performance audit. Right? And coming to the audit reports of a COG. Right? In previously we have seen the role of Controller and Auditor General of India in functioning of financial commitment and Parliament and state legislature. But here we are going to see that audit report of COG. The reports of COG and the PSU of CG are presented to Parliament in the following parts. Means on which the audit report will be read by the CG, then on which parts it will be submitted to the Parliament, that is in Lok Sabha. The parts are as follows. First, introduction containing general overview of the working results of the government companies, deemed government companies, or the corporations. Means that the first part is the introduction. Means we have conducted these audits, and these are the general overview of these working results that we have conducted on this particular government company, deemed government company, or corporation. The next one is the result of comprehensive appraisal. Here generally appraisal is the act of assessing something. Means the result of comprehensive appraisal among these of selected undertakings of the audit by the audit board. See, first what they will do is they will keep a general introduction, general overview of the working results. Then the result of comprehensive appraisal of selected undertaking. Then COG will produce to the Parliament, that is in Lok Sabha, the resume of the company's auditor's report. I mean, see, the COG will appoint the auditor, and the auditor will submit the report to COG. Right? That resume of company's auditor report submitted by them under the direction issued by the COG, and of comments. Means on that report, the COG will do comments and supplements. Will do, right? That those comments of the accounts of the government companies also will be placed before the Parliament. This is the third part of the audit report that will be placed to Parliament of central government. that is significant results of audit of the undertakings not taken as appraisal by the audit committee, audit board, right? This is the next thing. Fourth point is significant results of audit of undertaking not taken up for appraisal by the audit team, audit board, right? Any significant results of audit is there, and that those undertakings, those audit not taken appraisal with audit board. Means audit board here will be some maybe audit committee or board of directors, right? They have not taken, the auditor has found out some significant results of that particular item, but these persons have not taken any appraisal. Means they have not taken decided for assessing that findings, right? This is the fourth point. There is significant results of the audit of undertaking not taken up by the appraisal by the audit board. These are 4 points for the Cogwheel report, or the 4 points. The introduction containing general review, the introduction containing the general review of a general review of working results of government companies, deemed government companies, corporations, and the results of comprehensive appraisal of selected undertakings. What selected undertakings they will do. And the third point is regime of company auditor along with the comments. And fourth point is significant audit findings by the auditor and by the auditor of the undertakings not taken up for appraisal by the audit board. These are the 4 points. Right, this question has already been asked in May 19 old syllabus. May be expected again once again. Right. Right, and coming to the first one, that is our financial audit. Financial audit, right, there is one very small topic. Financial audit, an audit which is primarily conducted to express audit opinion, means the primary conduct for the audit is expression of opinion on the financial statements, on what, on set of financial statements for what, so as to enhance what, so as to enhance the degree of confidence of the intended users. Right, these financial statements to express an opinion on the audited or express the opinion on what the financial statement, so as to enhance the degree of contents of the intended user. That means the reliability of the financial statements needs to be audited by some other person. That audit is called financial audit. Right, that is our general statutory audit. And audit opinion is expressed to that the financial statements are prepared. Right, if you see in the SA 700 or 705 that if in case of its compliance framework we use the word prepared, and in case of fair presentation framework we will use the word the financial statements gives true and fair view. The same is given here. That is audit opinion is expressed to whether the financial statements are prepared in all material aspects 320, right? Material aspects in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework, that is compliance framework, or whether the financial statements presented fairly in all material aspects, again material aspect 320, or give the true and fair view, means our that is our fair presentation framework in accordance with the framework. That is our fair presentation framework, right? And coming to the elements or the coverage, main coverage of this financial audit, there are 3 points here. You can remember the financial records, financial system and transactions, internal control, and internal audit function. What? Financial records, financial system and transactions, internal control, internal audit function. Financial records, financial systems and transactions. On the basis of that, the internal controls and internal audit function. Right? Examination of the evaluation of financial records and expression of opinion on financial statements. We have to examine the financial records and you have to express an opinion on the financial statements. And examination of financial systems and transactions, including evaluation of compliance with applicable statutes and regulations with accuracy and completeness of the accounting records. Right? In financial audit also we have to do compliance audit. Right? That is here saying examination of financial system and transactions and also compliance. This financial audit also includes, as I already said, that is the compliance audit. Also, it also includes compliance audit, right? The compliance audit, the compliance will check the applicable statutes and regulations with affect the accuracy of the accounting records. Here also, we'll check the financial element only. The compliance, which is affecting the accuracy, and the accounting records, that compliance element will check. And the third point is evaluation of internal control and internal audit function that assists safeguarding of assets that assure accuracy and completeness of accounting records. Here also financial element in relation to the internal audit and internal audit function, which assists in safeguarding the assets. These 3 points will check in the financial audit. What are the 3 points of financial records? Examination of financial records and the examination of financial systems and transactions, and also compliance of applicable statutes which affect the accuracy and of accounting records, and evaluation of internal controls and internal audit function that assists the safeguarding of assets, and also completeness of accounting records. Right? This is all about the financial audit. And coming to the next one, that is compliance audit. Right? Compliance audit. Compliance audit is the independent assessment of whether a given subject matter is in compliance with the applicable authorities identified as criteria. Right? Compliance audit is that independent assessment. The person is independent, and that is assessment of whether the subject matter. We have already seen the subject matter is information. Right? Information, condition, activity. Right? That point that is the subject matter. Subject matter means that is information, condition, or activity that is measured or evaluated against certain criteria. Right? That we have discussed in our elements of PS audit in that is correct subject matter. That is compliance audit is independent assessment of whether that subject matter is in compliance with with applicable authorities identified as criteria, means that criteria was also benchmarked, that applicable criteria, that subject matter is complying or not, we'll check in the compliance audit, right? And compliance audit carried out by assessing whether the activities, financial transactions and information comply with all material aspects. Material aspects is very important with the authorities which govern the audited entity, means authorities like if it is a RBI, that the bank that audit, RBI, right? RBI authority and banks are that entity, then that all material aspects which the RBI has imposed, whether that particular bank is complying or not, we'll check in the compliance audit. That is, compliance audit are carried out by assessing whether the activities, financial transactions and information complete all material aspects with the authorities which govern the audited entity, right? And compliance audit has two elements, that is, compliance audit may be concerned with regularity, propriety, right? What? Regularity, propriety. Regularity means adherence of the subject matter. We heard subject matter means that information, condition, equity, which is evaluation of the subject matter criteria, right? That one. And regularity here, the regularity means adherence of the subject matter to the formal criteria emanating from the relevant laws, regulations, and agreements applicable to the entity. Means regularity means it is regular, whether it is regularly complying with that particular thing or not. It means technically we can say adherence of the subject matter to the formal criteria after respect to laws, authorities, relevant laws, regulations, agreements entered by the entity. Regularity means it is following the compliance of various authorities, regulations regularly. Right? Technically we can say adherence of the subject matter to the formal criteria. And coming to the propriety, propriety means observance of the general principles governing sound financial management and the ethical conduct of public officials. Propriety also we have to check in compliance audit whether the compliance is being done proprietarily or not. Observance of the general principles governing sound financial management, whether the management is doing everything correct, and ethical conduct of public officials, because they can use the expenditure and they will say that we have used for that particular purpose, but actually they did not use. They have misuse that particular thing. That is propriety element we have to check there. Observance of general principles governing sound financial management and ethical conduct of officials. And also, while regularity is the main focus of the complaints audit, propriety is also pertinent in the public sector context, right? And coming to the perspective of compliance audit, see, generally compliance audit cannot be done alone, isolatedly, but it can be combined with some other audit, right? That we can say compliance audit can be part of a combined audit that may also include other aspects through other possibilities exist. Compliance audit is generally conducted either with in relation to the audit of financial statements. We have already seen in our financial statement the compliance element in the second part. Elements of second part we have financial systems and transaction. That compliance element is there, right? That point. That compliance audit may be in relation to with the audit of financial statements, or separately maybe individual compliance audit can be done, or in combination with the performance auditing, right? For the compliance auditing, they can ask an MCQ whether what is the compliance audit, the combined audit can be done. Options they will give: compliance audit, you can select compliance audit, right? And also that is compliance audit in combination with financial audit, as it can be done alone or it can be combined with performance audit. MCQ is expected in this area, right? And coming to the next topic is our comprehensive audit of public enterprise. What is the comprehensive audit, right? Once again, we'll see the compliance audit. Compliance audit with the independent assessment of what? Independent assessment of what? Whether the given subject matter is in compliance applicable authorities identified as a criteria, and it has 2 points: regularity and propriety. Regularity means adherence of the subject matter to the formal criteria, and the propriety is observance of the general principles governing the sound financial management and ethical conduct of officials. So regularity is the main focus. It can also be there focus on propriety, and perspective of compliance. It can be done as combined audit with financial audit and performance audit, and it can be done alone. This is all about compliance audit. And coming to the next one, that is comprehensive audit, right? Comprehensive audit in we have seen definition one-liner, right? Comprehensive audit involves assessing of overall efficiency and effectiveness of public enterprises. This is done by reference to certain predetermined standards and objectives, that we have already seen this definition. Comprehensive, the name itself is comprehensive. It is covering wide area. That is the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the public enterprises. This is done by reference to what? Reference to certain predetermined standards, objects, criteria. This is comprehensive audit. Then the starting point of comprehensive audit of public enterprise, which covers the aspects of economy, efficiency, and effectiveness, is the preparation of audit program based on the study of decisions. Means the starting point of this comprehensive audit is which covers the economy, efficiency, effectiveness. Based on these three things, we have to start this comprehensive audit, that is economy, efficiency, effectiveness, right? And these audit programs identify areas or aspects which require the further detailed audit analysis. Means the main element is based on this economy, efficiency, effectiveness. We have to plan an audit program, and this audit plan will help in identifying the areas or aspects which require further detailed audit analysis, right? This we can say the first audit planning and audit execution, right? What is the comprehensive audit? Comprehensive audit involves assessing overall effectiveness, efficiency of public enterprises. This is done reference to what predetermined standards, objects and criteria, right? The starting point is audit plan. With effect from we have to see the efficiency, economy, and effectiveness, right? And these audit programs will further help in our determining the key audit areas. We can say key areas in the further audit, detailed audit analysis is required, right? And one important question is here, what are the areas to be covered in a comprehensive audit? There are almost 10 points are there, right? We're going to discuss these 10 points, right? The areas covered in the comprehensive audit will vary from enterprise to enterprise depending on the nature of the enterprise and objectives and operations of the particular enterprise. But some of the broad areas, means some of the standardized areas we will see. For discussing these areas to be covered in the comprehensive, we have an example so that we can remember all the 10 points accurately. First 5 points we'll remember with the form of example, and next 5 points we'll remember with the form of shortcut, right? And coming to, for example, let us take a project of construction of plant and machinery. For the project of particular a factory is being done, and you have been appointed as an auditor for that doing that factory comprehensive audit, right? For the project of the factory comprehensive audit, you are appointed as an auditor, and you went there, and what you have to do is first you have to ask that particular management what is the planned cost of the entire project, and what is the actually incurred cost, right? That is the first thing you have to ask. And next thing we have to ask is what is the productional operational outputs in relation to utilization of the installed capacity. Means in that factory you have to ask that particular machine is performed, what is the installed capacity, what is the capacity of the machine, and how much units you are producing out of that machine. That is the second point. And next we have to go to that systems. You have to go to the IT room and you have to ask the soundness of the system. Means whether these particular systems are very good for what project formulation implementation. Means the project has been completed, in that they are doing the process rate, whether that in formulation implementation can be done with that systems or not, we have to check. And then you have to go to the management, what target you have fixed for obtaining that return. Means the achievement of planned rate of return, whether you are achieving the planned rate of return also, then we have to discuss with the management. And you have to ask the management what measures you are taking for controlling the cost, and whether that measures are adequate or not. Means for the wastages will be there in the product, what cost measures they are selling as scrap, or when controlling the cost measures are putting input output ratio, some standard costing they are implementing or not. That thing we have to check. That is our adequacy of cost control measures, right? The first example, we are for the project factory is there, and we are going to for the comprehensive. What we have to check, the first one, overall, what is the costing comparison of overall cost of the project with the approved planned cost, and production of operational output which means in relation to utilization of the installed capacity, and soundness of the system for project formulation or implementation, and achievement of planned rate of return, what is the expected rate of return they are achieved or not, and adequacy of cost control measures, right? These are the points we'll discuss with an example, and next 5 points we'll discuss with an example of shortcut, right? RD, RM means RD, RM, RD, R&D, R&M, and triple E. We have seen that the starting point is for audit programming considering efficiency, economy, effectiveness, right? Those triple E, RD, R&D, RM, and triple E. And next one is residuary. Coming to R&D, that is existence and performance of research and development programs, that is R&D, and existence of adequate system of repairs and maintenance, that is R&M, and double E is for effective and economical procedures, and another E for inefficiency or insufficiency of project planning, inefficiency or insufficiency of project planning, that is triple E. In the first double E is for effective and economical what procedures, and next E is for inefficiency or insufficiency of project planning, and residual point is undue waste and unproductive time for main machines, waste utilization or non-utilization resources, that we can say has a cost control measure. Also we can make that point, right? This is all about the areas to be covered. Once again, we'll see with the form of example project is there, and we have to go there and comprehensive audit means we have to check the what cost you have actually incurred out of the planned cost. When you have to comparison of overall cost for the project with the approved planned cost. And next thing we'll ask what output is you are obtaining, and what is the installed capacity, production or operational output in relation to the utilization of installed capacity. And next we have to go to IT room, and we have to ask the soundness of the system whether it is good for project formulation implementation. And next we have to ask the management what is the rate of return you fixed for this entire project, achievement of the planned rate of return. And next ask the management whether control measures are taken or not. Next we have to check the adequacy of the control measures, R&D, R&M, triple E, R&D, R&M, existence of performance of research and development program, existence of adequate system of research and maintenance, double E, that is effective and economical procedures. And next one is E. Here E is negative E, means inefficiency or insufficiency of project planning. And next one is undue waste, unproductive time of main machines, right? These are the points of areas to be covered. I think we can remember easily. Then if the question is asked, we can write away. Simple manner, right? And coming to the next one is a proprietary audit. We have two audits pending: proprietary audit and performance audit. These are a bit large compared to the previous 3 months, right? Let me come to the next topic, that is proprietary audit. Generally, we can write on your own, but if you write in module language, then only we can get marks in the particular chapter, right? That is proprietary audit. Proprietary audit stands for verification of transaction and the test of what and the test of public interest, commonly accepted customs and standards of conduct, right? Once again, proprietary audit stands for verification of transaction and the test of what? PCS, we can remember PCS, right? Public proprietary audit stands for verification of transaction with the test of public interest, commonly accepted customs and standards of conduct. Public interest, commonly accepted customs, standards of conduct, right? Instead of too much emphasis dependent on documents, vouchers or guidance, it shifts emphasis of substance of the transactions and looks to the appropriateness of thereof to consideration of financial prudence, public interest and prevention of wasteful expenditure. Okay. For example, if that management is there, if management is saying management has purchased something for the office, they're saying like this is the bill, this is the proof of the bill, and we have incurred around some 10,000. Actually, according to the public interest or commonly accepted customs or standards of conduct, generally outside that much of expenditure is not required related to the particular thing, even though that is actually actual cost, that much of expenditure is not required. That says actually the expenditure is 5,000. Then the management has used his power and it has incurred more than wasteful expenditure. That thing we have to check here. That is a proprietary element, right? Instead of too much dependence of documents, that is our invoice, voucher and evidence, it shifts the emphasis on substance, means what is the outside it is doing or the general how people are doing, the substance of the transactions, and looks into the appropriateness thereof on the consideration of financial prudence, public interest, prevention of wasteful expenditure. Thus, proprietary is concerned with the scrutiny of executive actions and decisions bearing of financial profit or loss of the enterprise, in special regard to what the 3 things, that is public interest, PCS, public interest, commonly accepted customs, public interest, commonly accepted customs and standards of conduct, right? And coming to the principles of this particular propriety, there are 4 principles. That is, expenditure shall not be more than when the occasion demands, and no authority can exercise its powers on its own advantage, and public money shall not be used for a particular benefit of particular person or particular section. And next one is there should not be any avenue to the particular manager person more in order to earn more than the actual remuneration received. What are the 4 things? What are the 4 principles of propriety audit? This question may be expected. What are the 4 principles? Expenditure shall not be more than when the occasion demands, and no authority exercise powers on own advantage, and public money shall not be used for a particular person or particular group of sections, right? And there shall not be any avenue open to the managerial persons other than the actual remuneration received, right? What are the elements we'll see? That expenditure shall not exceed the occasion demand, right? Expenditure is not prima facie more than the occasion demands, and that every official exercise in the same degree of vigilance in respect of expenditure as a person of ordinary prudence would exercise in respect of his money, right? This is saying expenditure is not prima facie more than the occasion demands. Like you have to be an ordinary man. How the ordinary man incur that expenditure? At that viewpoint only we have to incur that expenditure, right? You can say like, had it been your own money, would you have taken the same decision? Had it been your own money, would you have taken the same decision? That thing we have to check. That is, expenditure shall not be more than the occasion demands, and the authority exercises powers of sanctioning expenditure to pass an order which will not be directly or indirectly accrue its own advantage. We have said that management point. That thing, the authority which is passing the order on that expenditure shall not use its position to get its own advantage, right? That is, authority exercises its powers of sanctioning expenditure to pass an order which will directly or indirectly accrue to its own advantage, and funds are not utilized for the benefit of the particular person or a group of persons, right? Funds are not utilized for the benefit of a particular person or a group of persons. We have everything that is public money. And also, apart from the agreed remuneration or rewards, no other avenue is kept open to the indirectly benefit of the managerial person, employees, and others. We have seen that, right? These are 4 points. Expenditure shall not be more than the occasion demands, and no authority exercises for own advantage. Public money shall not be used for a particular person, and there shall no avenue for making profits other than the remuneration, right? This is all about propriety principles. And coming to the elements of propriety, they can ask the question, what are the elements of propriety elements in Companies Act? And also they can ask what are the proprietary elements in CARO 2016. The elements of propriety in Companies Act are section 148. If you see section 148, what is section 148? Cost regards rule 3 and rule 4. Cost audit rule 3 and rule 4 we have seen that 35 crores, 50 crores, 25 crores, 100 crores, 35 crores, that point. And 143 subsection 1 we have already seen that is our inquiry into certain specified matters, that is LIC, L square IC, BP high, right? And 143 subsection 6 and 143 subsection that we have seen in this chapter only, that is our supplementary audit or test audit by the COG, that is Controller and Auditor General of India, right? And next point is our additional information as per part 2 of the schedule 3, right? 148, 143 1, 143 6, 143 6, 143 7, and part 2 of schedule 3, right? And number the proprietary elements in CARO. What are the proprietary elements in CARO? We can have like 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15. What? 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15. 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15. 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15. That is our para 3 subclass 3. Para 3 subclass 3 is related to the loans we went to 199 parties. This scheduled repayment will be there. Overdue more than 90 days. Regular reasonable steps are required at that point. Para 3. 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. 7 is for our statutory dues, and 8 is our default of repayment of loans to banks, financial institutions, governments, right? Debenture holders at that point. And 9 is our money raised for initial public offer or further public offer, and 10 is our famous section, that is fraud, and 11 is our managerial remuneration, and 15 is our non-cash transactions, right? In this particular CARO subclasses, we have proprietary element, right? And also coming to the next important question, I think this question is expected this second norm 2020, that is our problems in proprietary. What are the problems in proprietary audit, right? To the problems in this particular proprietary, that I most expected question. See, in these problems, they have discussed the problems as well as solutions of the proprietary audit. So first we will classify the problems. We will classify the problems as we have moral term and subjectivity. On subjectivity we have 2 problems, and moral we have 1 problem, that is totally 3. And solutions we have scene reconstruction, right? This one we might have in our TV channels, news channels, right? Scene reconstruction, particular crime is there, the police will take that suspects towards that particular area and they will ask how you did this, what you are going to do. That is scene reconstruction. How you did this particular crime, they will ask, that is scene reconstruction. One solution. And next one is objectivity of auditor. As I said 200, the basic thing is the auditor should have the objectivity, it should not be biased. That is our second solution. And third solution is our norms of C&AG, that our Controller and Auditor General of India, that is there, right? That is our Girish Chandra Murmu is there, right? That is the Controller and Auditor General of India. Norms of they have designed some norms of propriety for expenditure of public funds in our country. That is our solution. What are the problems? Moral term, subjectivity has 2 elements of problems, and scene reconstruction, objective of the auditor. Solution, scene reconstruction, objective of the auditor, and norms of C&AG. Right? Coming to the first problem is moral term. In moral term, for example, it is moral because for one person it may be moral, and second person it may be immoral. Right? Because of that thing, that is a problem. The expenditure propriety is a moral term and can be understood by reference to the concept of morality accepted by the society at a given time. Means at one particular point of time, at particular society, it may be moral. After considering some more time, then that society, the same society will think that the particular act is immoral. That is the main problem in this particular element, the propriety element. The propriety element expression moral term and can be understood by reference to the concept of morality accepted by the society at a given time. Right? Another second one is subjectivity. The propriety element has the propriety audit has an inherent element of subjectivity, because it is very difficult to establish standards of, because it is very difficult to establish what a PCS or first 3, that is module language, that is public interest, commonly accepted customs, public interest, commonly accepted what customs and standards of conduct, right? Standards of conduct for audit evaluation. It is because of subjectivity, it is very difficult to establish the standards, because it is difficult to establish standard. This much is the public interest, and this is a generally accepted custom, and this is the standard of conduct to this particular act. It is very difficult to do. It is very difficult to establish a particular standard because of the element of subjectivity. And coming to the next subjectivity, next problem is the element of subjectivity has caused proper discharge of duty very difficult, very delicate, and demands discretion. Means the subjectivity has caused the proper discharge of duty very delicate, means whenever the management is doing decision, they have to think thrice because of the property element that is taken as delicate. Right? These are the 3 problems. What are the 3 problems? Moral term and subjectivity. Because of subjectivity, we cannot establish the standards of PCS, and because of subjectivity, that performance of duty has become more delicate and demands discretion. Right? These are the 3 problems. Right. What are the solutions of the problems? Scene reconstruction, objective of the auditor, and norms of C&AG. Right. And coming to the scene reconstruction, that we have discussed one problem, that there is elements of subjectivity, that because of that there is a proper discharge of duty becomes very delicate and demand discretion. For that, there is a solution, that wisdom of taking commercial decisions under dynamic environment must be evaluated with reference to the circumstances in which these were taken, and therefore the auditor in his field must reconstruct such circumstance. Right? If that particular management has taken decision, then wisdom of taking commercial decision, that particular decision under dynamic because the circumstances are very changing very fast. In that case, how the auditor has to evaluate the particular decision. He has to assume that a particular scene, he has to again reconstruct that particular circumstances, and what if he had done if he was in that particular position. That is the first solution, that is scene reconstruction. And coming to the next one, that is our objectivity of auditor. To take care of the judgment of the auditor must be objective, as otherwise it would dampen the initiative of management and others in taking commercial decisions, and propriety audit would prove itself to be counterproductive. Right? The auditor judgment shall not be biased one, otherwise it will dampen, it will have effect on the management taking commercial decisions, and it will be counterproductive. The propriety itself will be counterproductive. And coming to the next one, that is norms of C&AG. To take care of the situation, the C&AG has developed the norms of propriety for expenditure of public funds in our country. By laying down the standards of propriety for government expenditure, the C&AG has really tried to tackle the practical way, the complex problem of objectivity inherent in the situation, calling for propriety consideration. Right? C&AG has taken very good step. Thinking with practical point of view, they have given some norms. Right? These are the problems in the propriety audit. This is very much expected. Moral term, subjectivity has two problems, and we have solution of scene reconstruction, objective of auditor, and norms of C&AG. Right? This is all about the propriety audit. Then we have one more thing left, that is our performance audit. Right? Right, and coming to the next study is performance audit. In this performance audit, we'll see the meaning and what are the elements of performance audit, and what are the factors to be considered while planning a performance audit, and planning for performance audit. We'll see the four things. That is, what is the meaning and what is the elements of performance audit, and what is the factors to be considered while planning the performance audit, and what is the planning on performance audit. Right, this is a big compared to the four previous audits. Right, performance audit meaning, the performance audit is an objective and systematic examination of evidence for the purpose of providing an independent assessment of performance of a government organization, program, activity, or function in order to provide information to improve public accountability and facilitate decision making with parties with the responsibility to oversee and initiate the corrective action. Right? In the performance audit, it is an objective or systematic examination of evidence for the purpose of providing an independent assessment of the performance of an. See, it is an objectivity and systematic examination of what evidence for the purpose of what, providing independent assessment of what the performance of government organization, function, activity, or function in order to provide information to improve the public accountability and facilitate the decision making the person who is overseeing that and to take corrective action. This is the performance audit. Right? The definition is big, but you have to write as it is. Right? Again, a performance audit is an objective and systematic examination of evidence for the purpose of providing an independent assessment of what the performance of government organization, function, activity, program, whatever it may be, in order to provide information to improve the public accountability and to facilitate decision making by whom? By the parties who are responsibility to oversee or to take initiative, that is in corrective action. Right? This is the meaning. And coming to the next one, that is our elements of a performance audit. We have the three elements that in our comprehensive audit we have seen that for starting stage, that we have to assess the three things, that economy, the triple E, economy, efficiency, effectiveness. Right? Those are the three elements of performance audit. There it is a starting stage for determining the audit program. We assess these following three, but these are the three main things, elements of performance audit. That is economy, efficiency audit, and effectiveness. Right? Economy means optimal utilization of resources, and whereas efficiency means input-output ratio. And there is a case of effectiveness means that is that whether the extent the objectives are achieved, that the objectives are achieved effectively or not, and the relationship between the intended impact and the actual impact. Right? What is the economy? Economy means optimal utilization of resources. Efficiency means the input-output ratio combinations, and effectiveness means achieving the objective, means achieving the extent to which the objectives are achieved, and the intended impact and the actual impact of an activity, that we can say effectiveness. Right? Coming to the economy stands for minimizing the cost of resources used for an activity, having regard to appropriate quality, quantity, and best price. Means the minimize the cost of resources. We have to minimize the cost of resources. Optimal utilization shall be done because the maximum quality shall be there, maximum quantity shall be there, and the best price will be there, right? And evaluating the economy implies forming an opinion whether the resources have been used economically and acquired in due time in appropriate quantity and quality at the best price. The same thing, that is optimization resources, right? This is economy. And coming to the effectiveness, effectiveness we already discussed, that is input output combination. Effectiveness is a measurement of input output. It is said to be efficiency is a measurement of input output. It is said to be achieved when the output is maximized and the minimum of inputs, means we will get the maximum output from the minimum raw materials we take. For example, we want 1000, we have some use very less raw materials and we have produced way more output, that is maximum output at best price, best quality and best quantity, right? That is efficiency is a measurement of input output. It is said to achieve when the output is maximized at the minimum inputs and input is minimized for given output. For example, they have given 1000 units you have to produce, but some persons are using more raw material, but we are using less raw material and we are producing efficiently and also economically, right? That is given quantity of product, right? The quantity is given and quality is given. We have to produce at a minimum using the minimum number of inputs. That is efficiency audit, right? Efficiency, if we examine the efficiency, embraces aspects such as method. Means while checking the efficiency, we have to check the following things: that procurement practices followed are shown. Procurement practice means the purchase of raw materials from the different suppliers, so that whether that particular process is sound. If that particular process is sound, then we can minimize, we can have a good combination of input output ratio, right? That is procurement practices followed are sound. Resources are properly protected, maintained and efficiently used. Means what are the resources we have purchased, those resources should be properly used, are properly stored and properly, right? If there are perishable resources, then we have to use it very quickly, like that thing. That is, resources are properly protected, they have been protected, the storage godown are maintained, like, and efficiently used. Maintain means if that particular product is wants a refrigerator, we have to keep in the storage, right? Cold storages, that thing. That is, procurement practices followed are sound and resources are properly protected, maintained and efficiently used. Efficient operating procedures are used, means efficient operating procedures are used, and the objective of public sector programs were met cost effectively, right? These are the 4 things we will check. That is procurement, first thing we will say, because input out combination, procurement will see, and resources are protected, maintained and efficiently used, and the operating procedures for carrying this input from that storage department to production department and production department to the final consumption work in progress, that operating procedures is effective or not, we have to see. And the objective of the public sector programs are met cost effectively. What is the objective of the particular public sector is meeting cost effectively or not, because with minimum cost and maximum output is getting or not, we will see. And human, financial and other resources are also efficiently used. That for this efficiency, the main thing is human resource. That human resource and financial resource mean that money resource and other resources are efficiently used or not, we have to check in efficiency. Right? What are the things we have to check? Procurement procedure is sound and resources are properly maintained, protected, efficiently used. Operating procedures are efficient and the objects of public sector met cost effectively. And human, financial, other resources are efficiently used. Right? And coming to that effectiveness element. What is effectiveness element? Effectiveness is a measurement of the extent to which the objects are achieved and relationship between the intended impact and the actual impact of the activity. We have seen that is effectiveness. For examining the effectiveness, we'll cover this following, right? We have more points, but we'll see the 5 points. That we will classify this into 2 categories. That first category related to the program, and next is the management, and next is the laws and regulations, right? First one is the program. First 2 points are program, next 2 points are management, and next one is laws and regulations. First 2 points are 3 is determine the extent to which a program achieves a desired level of result. Determine the extent to which the program achieves the desired level of results. For example, some program is there, that program is achieving that particular results or not, we have to see. Determine the extent to which the program achieves a desired level of results, and assess the effectiveness of the program and or of the individual program components, right? You can have to assess the effectiveness of the particular program, or you can break down the program individually. If it is separable, then you have to check each particular unit effectiveness in the particular program. It is related to the first 2 points in the program. First, we have to check the extent to which the program achieves its desired level of results, and we have to check the effectiveness, that is related to the program 2 points. And next one comes to the management. In management, determine whether the management has considered alternatively for carrying out the program that might yield desired results more effectively or at a lower cost. See, for example, there is a 2 ways for a particular program to be done. That management has to check the alternatives, right? Which one is correct. We have to do capital budgeting, NPA, positive NPA, right? This thing management has done or not. Determining the management has considered alternative of carrying out program that might yield desired results more effectively or at a lower cost. And coming to the next, that management point, second point. First, that is assess the adequacy of the management control system for measuring, monitoring and reporting the program's effectiveness. Means that management has effective what effective monitoring system for assessing the program is there or not. First 2 points are related to the program. Next 2 points management. First 2 points program is what program to which the program desired level of results they have achieved or not, and we have to have effectiveness of the program or individual part of the program, and management alternative resources and the management control system is effective or not for monitoring the programs effectiveness, right? And coming to the last one is ensuring compliance with laws and regulations and applicable to the program, right? This is effectiveness. Economy, efficiency. Economy, optimal utilization resources. Efficiency, input-output ratio. Effectiveness, to the extent the objectives are achieved, and relationship between the intended impact and the actual impact of the activity. Right? We have 2 programs, 2 management, 1 loss regulation. Program to the extent that they have achieved the desired levels of output, and effectiveness of the program. Management, we have alternatives they have checked or not, and management control system is effective or not. Right? The and laws and regulations, complex with laws and regulations. These are the 5 points we'll see in case of effectiveness. Right? And coming to the next question, that is next point, that is factors to be considered while planning performance audit, right? These are the factors to be considered while planning a performance audit, right? We have 10 factors. The factors we'll discuss, right? First 4 points we'll discuss one set, and next 6 points we'll discuss another set. Like first 4 points, there are significance and in need of potential users of the audit report. Means what is the needs of the users for the performance audit to be submitted? Like what is significance to that particular users for this about this performance audit? That is the significance and need of potential users of the audit report. And the first thing that we have to do while going to audit is understand what obtaining understanding of a program to be audited, which program, which organization, which function, which activity to be audited, and obtain understanding of the program to be audited, and the legal and regulatory requirements, considering the legal and regulatory requirements of particular entity surroundings. Right, and the management controls, so considering the management control. The 4 points, the significance, what are the significance and what needs of the potential users of the audit report, obtaining understanding of what the program, organization, activity, function to be audited, and the legal and regulatory requirements and management controls. Right, and come to the next one, that is identifying the criteria. We have seen the criteria definition, that is benchmark. Identify the criteria needed to evaluate the matters subject to the audit. Means identify the criteria for evaluating and measuring the subject matter against that particular criteria. Identifying the criteria and identify significant findings and recommendations in the previous audit report that could have effect on the current audit procedure. Means we have to identify significant findings and recommend the previous auditors, and then that could affect the current audit objectives, right? And next one is potential sources of data that could be used as an audit evidence that consider the validity and reliability of these data. We have to potential source of data, that is SF 500 audit evidence. That point we have to check and consider that the work of other auditor, that is our 600, and experts may be used to satisfy the some of the auditor's objectives. Right? We can use the work of other auditor as well as expert as for 620 for some satisfying our objectives, and providing sufficient staff and other resources to the audit, preparing written audit plan. These are the 10 points. First one, significance and need of audit, users, obtaining an understanding of the program to be audited, legal and regulatory requirements, management controls, identifying criteria, identifying significant findings from the previous audit report, recommendations which affect the current audit procedures, and potential source of data which gives audit evidence, and using the work of other auditor, using the work of expert for satisfying some of the objectives of the auditor, and providing staff and other resources to the audit, preparing written audit plan. Right? These are the factors to be considered for planning performance audit. And coming to the next one is the planning for performance audit. There are some points. First, we have to understand the entity and program, defining the objective and scope, and determine the audit criteria. We have seen the criteria, that is benchmark, and deciding audit approach, which audit approach we are following. There are 3 types of audit approach, which audit approach we are following, and developing audit questions. After this doing everything, you have to develop questions and assess audit team and requirements of outside expertise. We have to assess the required skills are there in our team or not, and we have to check whether there is an expert needed for this work or not. And audit design matrix is one of the important point. Audit design matrix we have to design and establish the timetable necessary. That is nature, timing, extent of audit. That means at which time we are going to audit and how much resources are we going to allocate that particular audit. And intimation of audit. We have to intimation to that client in clearly with that we are going to do a planned performance audit. Right? These are the steps. Of the steps again: understanding the entity, defining the audit objective and scope, determining the criteria, deciding the audit approach, determining the audit question, developing audit question, assessing the audit team skills and requirements of outside expertise, audit design matrix, establishing timetable and resources, intimation of the audit. Right? Coming to the understanding, we have to understand the auditor should obtain understanding of the program to be audited, assess amongst other matters, significance of the possible audit objectives and feasibility of the achieving them. Right? You have to understand the first objectives of the program. That is the first point, even the factors also. Right? And this here, the auditor's undertaking may be obtained from the documents of the entity, legislative documents, policy documents, past audits, media coverage, special focus groups, academic and research groups, research Partial research, right? From these things, auditor can obtain understanding of the client and not defining objective. These are the basic questions that performance auditors seek answers to. These are usually expressed in terms of question about performance, that is achievement of economy, efficiency and effectiveness of the entity, program or activity under audit. Means whether achievement of economy is done, whether that program is efficient, whether that program is effective. This is the question audit objective has to define. And next one is scope, that is nature, timing and of audit audited. The answers are what, who, where and which period. Okay, this is the scope. And come to the audit criteria. The audit criteria are the standards, means standard used to determine whether a program meets or exceeds expectations. We have already seen the criteria definition, that is our benchmark, but here we have used standard, both are same. Criteria are standards used to determine whether the program meets or exceeds expectation. In selecting criteria, I have raised responsibility to use the criteria that are reasonable, attainable and relevant to the particular matters being evaluated or measured, right? And deciding audit approach, there are three types of audit approach. There are three types of audit approach, that is system oriented approach, and result oriented approach, and problem oriented approach, right? System oriented approach and result oriented approach and problem oriented approach. That is a system oriented approach, means which examines the proper functioning of the management system, especially financial management system, because it will see the functioning of the management system, especially the financial management system. Performance system oriented approach. In case of result oriented approach, which assesses whether the outcome of objectives have been achieved, intended, or whether the program or services are operating or intended. Means whether the particular outcome of that particular program is as per intended or not, whether the particular services has achieved its operating as intended, right? That is which assesses whether the outcome objectives have been achieved as intended, or whether the programs or services are operating as intended. And coming to the problem oriented approach, this will examine what are the problems, means what are the causes of that particular problems, and why the particular thing has deviations. What are the deviations from the criteria, right? This is a problem-oriented approach. Based on the approach, we have to consider different methods and means. But some other methods and means we have here. We have shortcut for this, remembering these methods and means. That is, ACA in US is doing quantitative analysis. What ACA in US is doing quantitative analysis, right? A is for quantitative analysis. A is for analysis. C is for case study. C is for analysis. A is for first A is for analysis of procedures. Second, C is for case study. C is for analysis of results. And US is for using of existing data. S is for surveys, and C quantitative analysis is for quantitative analysis, right? ACA in US is doing quantitative analysis. MCA is doing quantitative analysis. These are the methods to shortcut to remember the methods, right? Coming to the ACA analysis of procedures, a review of systems in place for planning, conducting, checking, monitoring of the activity. The case study analysis of particular issue within the context of whole area under review, means we have to do case study analysis, and use of existing data, that is investigate the data that is that the entity have under the particular research, use the existing data. And surveys, it is a method of collecting information from members of population to assess the incidence distribution and the interrelation of events and conditions, right? This surveys method can be used for this as a method for doing the performance audit. And also, because survey will result in incidents, what is the incidence of a particular program, or what is the distribution and interrelationship of the events and conditions. Through that we can analyze the particular program is a efficient economy or effectiveness or not. So we have to do surveys, and we can use analysis of results, analysis of input output to determine the efficiency of the program. The efficiency, the main combination is measurement of input output. And quantitative analysis, examination of available data relating to the financials like earnings, revenue, or data relating to the program implementation like details of beneficiaries. Quantitative analysis can be done, right? ACA in US having quantitative analysis. And coming to the developing audit questions, audit team should prepare a list of questions on which they would seek answers. See, audit team has to prepare some questions on which that DT has to answer, and this question should be detailed, right? And coming to the assessing audit team skills and requirements of the audit outside expertise, the audit team shall have professional competence to do the audit, that is necessary experience that they shall possess, and the audit team should decide that whether they are going to use any expert or not in the beginning of the audit. Right, and coming to the audit design matrix. Audit design matrix is very important. 2 marks can be expected. Audit design matrix is a rigorous, structured, and highly focused approach. What audit design matrix is a rigorous means it is a cutting, rigorous, structured. It is a very structured manner and highly focused approach. Focused approach to designing a performance audit study based around objectives, audit associated sub-objectives, and lower level of detailed questions. Specimen of audit design matrix. Like this is a structured, rigorous, highly focused approach for doing performance audit based on a case study basis. Like there is a matrix and the following columns. First thing, audit objective. is whether that particular objective, what is the object, or what is the doing of the particular objective. Next, what is the audit question for this particular objective, which questions you are going to frame, which questions you are going to ask to that particular entity, and audit criteria, what benchmark have you obtained, what benchmark have you decided to measure or evaluate against the subject matter, what is the evidence you have obtained, and data and collection and analysis method, right? In this, what are the data, what are the evidence you collected, and do the analysis of the data and obtain some output, right? What are the columns? Audit objective first one, audit question, audit objective, audit questions, audit criteria, evidence, data collection and analysis method. That is audit objective, audit questions, audit evidence, audit criteria, evidence, data collection. And then we'll go the flow. What is first objective we have to do? Then what are the questions we have to ask, and what are the criteria we have decided to compare that subject matter, and evidence and data collection and analysis method. Right? And establishing timetable and resources. It is important to determine the timetable and resources needed. Right? What is the timetable, the time it will go for audit, and what are the resources you are going to use for the particular audit we have decided, and information to the auditor. That we have to plan for once auditor, that information of client shall be given well before the commencement of audit. Right? Information will be given well before the commencement of the audit. Right? These are the things we are going to discuss in this particular audit of PSU, that public sector unit. Right? That's all for now. Thank you so much for listening.